know this might be a little bit of a surprise because it's kind of different than the typical format I've been doing with these live streams. Typically, I've been drawing or playing video games or something. If you're wondering why I'm uh, dressed like a cheesy Indiana Jones knockoff, it's because we're doing something a bit more adventurous tonight. Um, I'm going to be showing you my dinosaur collection, and and talking about dinosaurs, and we're gonna be doing some fun stuff, and I'm just waiting to see if people start popping up in the chat before I get started here. So I'm just kind of rambling a little bit. If you see me looking down in the sides, if you're watching this later, it's because I'm looking for comments so I can try to read them and talk to everybody. Um, and I'm going to try to catch as many of the comments as I can, but we'll have to see. So let me hit this button right here, see if the comments are going. There we go. Okay, so I have the live chat on, so anyone who wants to stop by and say hi, you're more than welcome to. So let's get going here. Just to kick things off, looks like I was lagging a little bit there. My internet's not too great, so just to kick things off, let's start with something kind of boring. Then we'll move on to the larger, more impressive specimens. Now, this guy right here, you might be thinking like, what? This isn't a very cool dinosaur toy, but the reason I brought this guy in is just because he's an old, let's see the brand. It's Play School dinosaur toy from 1987. That's a year after I was born. And this is the very first dinosaur toy I ever got as a kid. I don't remember a time in my life when I didn't have this guy. And I've loved the Dimetrodon ever since because green was my favorite color, and this guy just caught my imagination with his weird sailback and everything. So I know Dimetrodons aren't typically considered dinosaurs technically, but it's still pretty cool. Oh, hey! Greetings, the Poke Johnny. He says, "Howdy, chat. How you doing?" I just started with my dinosaur collection here. So I also got like a few other ones. I don't know anyone about my age. Oh, hey, how you doing, Eternal Death Rex? Good to see you. No worries for being late. It's I know life is busy, but life finds a way. So, hey, Darth Lion, good to see you again, buddy. Now I don't know if anyone else remembers these. You'd have to be my age probably. Um, but do you guys remember when Wendy's gave out dinosaur toys? Because that's what these are. These are from Wendy's back when I was really little, back in the early 90s. Might even been the late 80s. I don't know. Yeah, this is from like 1988. So yeah, these are really old. But the reason I'm bringing these up is because it just shows how long I've liked dinosaurs. Like most kids, I've always been fascinated by dinosaurs, and but I've got some cooler stuff to show you here. Now this right here, just to start things off, this isn't actually part of my collection. It's something my brother has. He collects a lot of cool stuff too. Can you see it good? I don't know. But this is an actual Spinosaurus tooth. Got it offline. And, oh, hey, Adela Finsonen, good to see ya. Thanks for dropping by. But yeah, this is an actual Spinosaurus tooth, or part of one. It may have chipped off. I can't tell if this rough patch is part of the root or if it's a part of the inside of the tooth that was snapped off. I'm not 100% sure, but I just thought that was really cool, and he said that I could show that on this live stream. Now, if you draw dinosaurs a lot, if you're a fan of art and you want to draw dinosaurs, you can get these. I'll move on to the skeletons in a bit. Oh, hey, my mom just showed up in the chat, and Cassandra Welch. How you guys doing tonight? Hope you're enjoying the little jungle ambience in the background if it's picking up. But yeah, this, yeah, that's right. It's Popo T-Rex. Now this guy, if you look at him real closely, you can see that he's actually the V-Rex from King Kong. You can see with his snaggletooth face and his more kind of crocodile-like stuff. But I got this guy off Amazon a while back, and I actually used him in my Jurassic Park review. I had him kind of like going by outside the window because I couldn't afford to do cool dinosaur effects. Um, but I also have a Velociraptor, very Jurassic Park esque, and so I was working on a comic book a while back, a few years ago, and it had dinosaurs in it. So these were really, really invaluable for me because I could turn them around any which way to see how um, they looked. Okay, yeah, some Eternal Death Rex. He just said that like those toys I showed that he had those too. They don't make good kids meal toys anymore. Kind of stinks. Now this is the best of the. I think this is a Popo as well. I don't know where. Oh, here it is. This one, yeah, this one's Popo as well, but it's very obviously um, Rexy from Jurassic Park. Like it's right down to the coloring. It's totally a Jurassic Park thing. Um, Cassandra Welch just asked if there are dinosaurs in Star Wars, and I don't know if they have gone back in the lore to make dinosaurs, but the dewbacks always reminded me of dinosaurs. Those are what the stormtroopers ride on Tatooine. And I always thought those were really cool because they were kind of like the closest thing to a dinosaur you ever saw in Star Wars. Um, I've got the Jurassic Park soundtrack on CD because, like dinosaurs, I am a fossil. But I like having something I can hold in my hand, and I like knowing that this is mine, and that no streaming service can just say like, well, we're taking it off our servers because not enough people are listening to it. I'd have this playing in the background right now, but I don't want the video to get copyright claimed or anything. So, um, now if you're like me, speaking of Jurassic Park, um, if you like Jurassic Park but you also like manga, I really highly recommend this book series called Dino Sanctuary. You can get these on Amazon. I'm waiting for the fourth volume to come out in English, but it's basically a story of if Jurassic Park worked. It's not tied to Jurassic Park, but it's kind of like it's a similar theme. It's like a dinosaur zoo, but the guy did a whole bunch of research. He worked with a paleontologist to get the dinosaurs as close to what we think they were like as possible. But he also did a lot of research with how zoos are run. So the way they keep the animals and the way they deal with them is very realistic. So, oh yeah, the Poke Giant just said like he just recently got into Dinosaur Sanctuary. It's a really good series. I hope it gets turned into an anime because I'd love to see this in animation. Um, but I mean, it's kind of a lighthearted story. Um, it's got some cute elements like here she's taking care of a baby dinosaur, and it's got some like little interpersonal stuff here and there. Um, the third volume is pretty cool because it has a color park map, like you went to a zoo. It's sorry, my light's reflecting on it, but yeah, it's really cool. You can get these on Amazon. They're about 15 bucks a volume. So this will be a volume. This would be a volume. So they're about 15 bucks each, um, and you can get them right on Amazon.com. I think you can get the Popo dinosaurs on Amazon as well. Um, so this is the guy right here from the thumbnail. Moving on to kind of a cooler thing. This is the guy I took a picture of for the thumbnail, and it's a Bandai model or Bandai, however you say it. I'm not exactly sure of the pronunciation, but you can get these on Amazon as well. Really cool. You have to put them together, but I love the detailing on it because they uh, they did digital scans of actual museum specimens. so these could be as accurate as possible. Like they have the cervical ribs going down the neck. You don't see that in a lot of T-Rex skeleton models because they're very fine details. They have the gastralia down here. Now, gastralia, those are like a secondary rib cage that large animals, I think some crocodilians even have them, if I remember correctly. And what they're for is to help kind of protect the gut. It's kind of like a armor plating, but it also kind of helps keep the guts in for a big heavy animal. Now, I modified mine because it's supposed to be in kind of like a jumping position, but I didn't really care for how that looked too much myself. So I just kind of hot glued the legs in place so he can stand. And so I like him quite a bit because T-Rex is my favorite dinosaur, like most people. Um, I'm not super original with my dinosaur choices. When I was little, I liked the Dimetrodon the best, but then I discovered T-Rex shortly after that, and he became my favorite. So, but not only does Bandai make a really cool T-Rex, um, someone just they asked if it was too pricey. Let me see. I think they're about $30 for a little model kit like that. I think they may have been on sale because it was Christmas time. But from what I remember, it's about $30. And not only do they make a T Rex, they make one sick Triceratops as well. And sick in the metal guitar player uh, way of speaking. Sick meaning cool. So I really like this guy because he's got a ball joint for his head, just like the real Triceratops skeleton. And again, this guy was taken from a real, they 3D scanned an actual Triceratops. So it's really, really accurate. Eventually, I'm probably going to try to make a little diorama to display these two guys in, because right now I just have them kind of sitting around uh, free, and I'd like to have a cooler display for them both. Um, Someday I might even buy a second one of these and a second T-Rex so I can kind of have it on its side, and I'd have to kind of mess up some of the bones so it could lay on its side right and make it look like the T-Rex is eating it after a fight. So, but let me see the comments here. Cassandra Welch just said, hold on, let me bring up the chat again. You had a very old dinosaur book, had pictures in it. It was terrifying. Some dinosaur stuff is kind of scary. I think that's kind of the allure for some kids, is that like they're bigger than life. They're kind of like the closest thing we have to dragons, really. Um, but a cool thing I've got here is this is it's a casting of an actual T-Rex tooth. I got this off Etsy. A guy that he actually works for a museum preparing displays. He kind of started making little display things to sell on Etsy in his spare time, and now he does that full time. So this is cast from an actual T-Rex tooth, and the cool thing about it is like all of this right here, all of that is the root of the tooth. So all of that part would be up inside the top jaw of the Tyrannosaurus. And that's what made their teeth so strong, was because their roots were almost as long, if not longer, than the tooth itself. Because they needed a really strong root system for their teeth, because when you're biting down on a Triceratops or an Ankylosaurus, you tend to break your teeth a lot. And T-Rex was like a shark. They were always replacing their teeth. And yes, this is life size. This is the actual size of a Tyrannosaurus tooth. So they were always replacing their teeth like sharks. So if you saw a T-Rex in the wild, it might have kind of snaggly teeth, depending on if it had its teeth break off while it was hunting an Edmontosaurus or something. So, and here, this is something I got for Christmas a couple years ago. This is like a full behind the scenes visual history on the first three Jurassic Park movies. And it has all kinds of really cool stories in it, behind the scenes information. It's basically like a special features DVD, but in book form. Um, so it has a lot of great pictures, a lot of great behind the scenes stories. There's blueprints for sets, there's storyboards. You can get this off of Amazon too. Um, Let me see, I'm trying to find. Here we go. We've got the park map, and this is a reprint. The cool thing about it is it's a reprint of the actual brochure they made for Jurassic Park for the movie. So here's the park map, like if you went to the zoo, and then the back has all of the advertisement for like Kodak cameras and all that kind of stuff. So they actually made these little brochures for the movie to try to make the park feel as authentic as possible. And so they reproduced that and put it in the book. So I think that's pretty cool. So it covers all three of the first movies: Jurassic Park 1, 2, and 3. Here's a little park badge thingy, and it's a really really cool book. I know I'm not being able to show you too much of it. Oh yeah, Adelphine just said that she's wanting to check out that Jurassic Park game that's coming out. That looks incredible. Um, I'm. I wish I had the console that's coming out for, because that looks like an amazing game. The graphics look great. It's from the time frame that I really like more, because it's set like a day after the events of the first movie, like right after Grant and the kids leave. Oh, hey, Anthony Jameson. Let me see. Says, hold on. Comment just popped off. Sorry, let me tap something here to try to get that comment back up. Says, can you hire me as Luke Skywalker in your next Star Wars fan film? I don't really know if we need a Luke Skywalker, because I don't know if we're going to make another Star Wars fan film. It took 3 years to make the last one. And right now we're kind of starting to move into more original stuff. But if we do make more stuff in Star Wars down the road, we will be putting out some casting calls for help on them. But right now, I've kind of got my plate full with working working on some uh, original projects right now. So let me check some of these other chats. Speaking of Jurassic Park, I heard that we're getting a brand new Jurassic Park game this year. Yeah, it's. I think it's called Jurassic Park Survivor, if I remember right. You play a doctor that got left when everyone else evacuated the island, and it looks incredibly cool. So, I'm not good at first-person games myself, uh, but for Jurassic Park, I would definitely give it a shot. Um, Now the next, let me see, what's the next item? I'll grab this one because it's kind of small. Um, Let me see. Here is it's an accurate sized Velociraptor claw, and a lot of people they talk about Velociraptor, saying that they're not very formidable. They always try to kind of downplay them and say like, oh, they're just like a turkey. Um, but it's like they're actually a bit bigger than a turkey, and they've got a claw this big on their toe. That's big enough to really do some damage, and there would be a keratin sheath over this claw, making it bigger. Now, what a keratin sheath is, if you don't know, keratin is basically what fingernails, your hair, antlers, claws are made of. So, what these bone claws do is it gives a stable base for a keratin sheath to grow over, so you have a really strong, powerful claw. And so that means, as big as this claw looks, Velociraptor actually had an even bigger claw on its toe, and so did Deinonychus and the other dromaeosaurs. And it's a pretty formidable thing. And here, I have one of my favorite parts of my little collection is a 3D printed Velociraptor skull. Now, this is 1-to-1 scale, meaning this is the actual size of a Velociraptor skull. This too was scanned from a museum piece, an actual dinosaur skeleton. This isn't real. Um, but it is, it's the size of a real one, and it's been weathered and prepared to look like it's bone. Now it comes in two pieces with the jaw and everything, but as you can see here, this head, it's still a pretty formidable sized thing. Like if this was to attack me, you can see it could do a lot of damage still. This is about the size of like a mid-sized dog. So if it was in a bad mood and it wanted to chomp down on me, uh, this would definitely do some damage. Now I have another little piece that kind of helps kind of put some of this into perspective. Um, I don't know if I can hold them both at the same time. Um, but not only do I have the raptor toe claw and the raptor skull, but I have, pardon me for a minute while I get this. Um, it's a reproduction model of a full Velociraptor skeleton. Um, Now this is a little model kit that I got for Christmas one year, and you can see with the scaling. Now imagine this toe claw right here. That's this toe claw. So you got to try to scale his body up to be on scale with that, and you see just how big the animal was. I can't get the lower jaw in here at the same time because they're separated and I don't want to drop it. But look at the head. It's the same exact animal, but now if you try to imagine the rest of this body on scale with this guy, he's not as big as they were in the Jurassic Park movie, but he's still big enough to tear you up pretty bad if he's in a rotten mood. So, but yeah, thanks. Darth Lion just said that the raptor skeleton looks really cool. I really like this guy. I might try to give him a new base eventually, something nicer, kind of carved out of wood with a cooler plaque, because this is just like a little sticker. But I'm probably going to kind of glue some of his joints into place, because the one thing I don't like about this model is its joints are very fragile, and his arms tend to fall off quite a bit. So you got to be real careful with them. Uh, but it's this is another one of my favorites. I like having a skull and then like a full body skeleton of these dinosaurs because it kind of helps me visualize like the whole animal. Now, an interesting thing about Velociraptor, everyone has always talked for years about the big killing claw on Velociraptors, and scientists always said that, you know, they held their toes back and they used their claw like a switchblade to like disembowel their prey and all this kind of thing. Sounds really cool, but I'm not sure if that's really how they use them. Now, I'm not trying to say I'm smarter than scientists, but um, I was looking into different animals, doing comparative anatomy to try to figure out um, like how to put some muscle over these skeletons, and I stumbled onto this bird called a red-legged Sariema. And if you look these birds up, you'll see that their feet are exactly like Velociraptor feet, right down to the big claw. And they don't kick with their claw. They don't disembowel anything with their claw. What they use that hooked claw for, they actually have their toes down. They use it to step on snakes and eels and small animals just to kind of keep it from getting away so they can pick it up in their beak and smack it on a rock, kill it, and eat it. So it's possible that Velociraptor might have hunted the same way. They might have hunted for smaller animals, maybe even hunted for fish. Who knows what they really ate? But I'm thinking they might have just kind of pinned stuff down with that claw, like the Sariema bird, because the bones are identical. You look up the skeleton of a Sariema. Now I'm talking about the feet. The rest of the skeleton is very different. But like just like from here down, the foot bone and the claw, and so it's exactly the same. So I just thought that was like really interesting because for years I was always drawn velociraptors like jumping and lunging and kicking with their claws because it's a cool image, but um, sometimes reality isn't quite as theatrical. But sorry, I'm trying to put this down carefully so it doesn't break. Um, but when you know more about how an animal might have really acted in real life, sometimes that's kind of cooler than the theatricality because um, it helps you get a better picture of what the animal might have really been like when it was running around. Now, I kind of used that particular bird in a story that I'm working on. I got a couple more things to show you, but I'm gonna save those for a minute because I'm actually going through this stuff a lot quicker than I thought I was going to. But I've got a story that I'm working on right now called Neozoic Island. I've got the first chapter up here on the YouTube channel as a preview, so you can listen to it if you want. But it's a story that's kind of similar to Jurassic Park in a way because it's about genetic manipulation and creating dinosaur-like creatures. Um, but it's not exactly real dinosaurs in the story. Um, there's this project that Jack Horner, he's the guy who was a technical advisor on first Jurassic Park films. He's been working on this project called I think the Chickenosaurus project or something like that, or Dino Chicken. I forget which one he called it. I think it was Chickenosaurus. But they're using this process, just to make it short and simple, they're using this process called atavism activation, where they go in and as a chicken embryo is developing, they interrupt the developmental stage of the chicken and they do genetic editing to turn different features on and off in their skeleton. Um, a simple way to describe it would almost be like a character creator in a video game, where you can kind of like choose what hair they have, choose what color jacket they're wearing, choose your weapon loadout, whatever features, how tall the character is, how short they are, all the different toggle switches you can turn on and off to customize your character. The genetic code apparently is kind of like that. Most animals they have all this stuff in like their base code of their genes, and and that's how you get animals with feathers, scales, or fur. Those features are there in all the different animals, and they can turn them on or turn them off. So what they're figuring out how to do is get chickens to grow mouths instead of beaks full of teeth. They're getting them to be able to grow hands instead of wings. They couldn't get them to grow tails because the chickens didn't have the genetic information to grow a long tail. So they're using another process called transgenesis, where what that is that's taking genetic information from one creature and implanting it into another. Um, so they take the genetic information of like a monitor lizard's tail or something like that, plug it into the chicken so the chicken can have a long tail, and they're trying to figure out how to make a dinosaur, essentially. And I just saw recently that he's waiting to have a rich guy give him the financial backing because they've got it to a point where they can't go any further until they have an island in international waters to carry out their experiments with before they can finally hatch one of these little guys and see if it worked. So I heard about that a couple years back, and I thought it was kind of cool. And so I've written kind of a fictional story about that same process. And so it's come along really nicely, and it's going to be about an hour long when I'm done with it, and I'm recording it as kind of an audio play, and I'll be posting the whole thing to the channel once I get it done. Um, because I'm kind of, I'm making like a fictional version of it where I'm kind of describing. It's kind of like a first person journal where he's like telling the account of how he started the island, that they're doing the experiments on, all the pitfalls and problems they had to overcome. So, if you're a fan of nerd stuff like me, um, you might enjoy it, and I'll keep you guys updated on that if that sounds interesting to you guys. But now that I've rambled on about that for a while, let me move some stuff around, and I'll show you a couple more of these things that I've got. I'm trying to figure out the best way to grab this one so I don't drop him because he's pretty fragile too. Um, this one, I was gonna say he's one of my favorites, but I keep saying that about like every one. I guess I have a lot of favorites, but here it's a big T-Rex skeleton that I've got. Let me try to back up a little bit if I can do it without bumping into my screen here. There we go. He looks a bit like he's made out of chocolate because I had to spray paint him brown because I modified this guy too because my brother got this for me for Christmas a few years back. And the skeleton was great, all except for the head. And like the head is the most important part of a T-Rex because it has the teeth and the mouth and everything. The head didn't look so great on this model. So what I did was I modified it by buying. I bought. This is actually a 3D printed shower head. They sell these T-Rex shower heads on Amazon. Now he had a nozzle like right here in his mouth for the water to come through, but I have a hot knife for cutting foam and doing cosplay crafting and all that kind of stuff. So I was able to cut it out of there, and then I hot glued the new head on top of the spine here. And if I can tip this down, I had to kind of build out the back of his head. I don't know if you can see it. I had to build out the back of his head with hot glue, like layers and layers of hot glue, to kind of connect him to the skeleton. Um, I'm very happy with how he turned out. And then I spray painted him so he'd look consistent. He's a little shinier than I'd like, and like I said, he almost looks like he's made out of chocolate. Um, so eventually I may give him another coat of spray paint. I might paint him up with some of that kind of paint that it simulates stone texture. My mom has used that stuff a few times on little ceramic rabbit statues and stuff that she puts in her garden, and it makes the ceramic look like stone. So it might work for this guy and make him look more like he's made out of bones instead of being a Choclosaurus. Um, I don't know why they didn't turn that into a cereal when I was a kid. Everything was dinosaurs back in the 90s. Choclosaurus would have been a great cereal brand. Little competitor for Cocoa Puffs. But yeah, so there's that guy. He's pretty cool. And here's the biggest thing of my collection. Like I said, I'm getting through this a lot quicker than I thought I was going to. But this is, I got this guy a couple years ago, back when I actually had some money coming in. Even at the time, though, it was more expensive than I probably should have spent. I half regretted it because I was like, I shouldn't have spent that much. But at the same time, I really wanted it, and it was really cool, so I went ahead and got it. Kind of a dumb move, but learn from my mistakes. Um, Oh, thanks. Uh, Someone said that that they couldn't tell the T Rex was modified at all. The paint job is really what pulled it together, because it was pretty obvious because like the head was originally like lime green for the nozzle, and then the body was painted up all nice to look like bone. And he had this big nasty blob of hot glue on the back of his head, kind of filling up the back of his brain case and linking it into his spine. So, um, but once I got the paint on him, it kind of sealed them all together. So, but this is my biggest piece of my collection. Um, this T Rex skull. I got this guy off of Etsy, and it's pretty pricey. Um, at the time, it was on sale for Christmas, and he was a very nasty color. I think it was either a like a really garish gold or like a hot pink. I can't remember which of the two, but it was a color that like made nobody want to buy it. So they marked it down by like more than 50%, and it was still expensive. So if you look for these on Etsy about this size, it'll be a shock, but I didn't spend that much on them. I fortunately got a bit of a deal. So while he's not completely T-Rex size, um, he's about uh, he's about the size of a juvenile T-Rex, about the size one of those guys would be. As you can see, he's big enough to really do some damage. And just for comparison, let me grab something here. With how big these teeth are, each of those teeth coming out of his head should really be this big. And then you need to scale up the rest of the body accordingly. Now, a T-Rex, their head alone was about 5 feet long. Now, I'm 5'11", so that means I would almost fit completely in this guy's mouth in one chomp. No chewing, no tenderizing. Just want to swallow you whole. Down you go. He's very, very formidable. Now the nasal bones on the T-Rex up here, they were fused. And, oh, hold on just a second. I saw a new comment pop up. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, hey, Everest Productions. Nice to see you. Said that he remembered having a Spinosaurus around the time Jurassic Park 3 came out, and you could pull off the skin. So it had like its skeleton underneath. I didn't see many of the toys from the Jurassic Park 3 era. But the dinosaurs looked the coolest they ever did in that movie, so I'm sure the toys were really cool from that era. But like I was saying, the T-Rex, its nasal bone was fused up here. That was uncommon for a lot of theropods. And what that did is that gave them a lot of stability and strength. That combined with the big thick roots that went like at least up into here on the side of their jaw. Let me do it this way so you can see it better. So this tooth, its root would have gone all the way up to like about there. And that gave them a very strong bite. The T-Rex could bite with an estimated bite force of about 6,000 pounds of pressure. Not 6,000 pounds, 6,000 tons, I think it was, if I remember correctly, or 6 tons. I don't know. I'm really tired. I didn't sleep last night. But yeah, whatever it was, they said that it's strong enough of a bite that it could crush a car, meaning that the T-Rex really could have just crushed the Jeep that Lex and Tim were in and ate the little snacklets inside pretty easily. So yeah, 6 tons of pressure. Thanks, Eternal Death Rex. I knew it was somewhere in there. I'm just too tired. But they could also take like I think 500 pounds of meat in one bite because of the size of their mouth, um, which is insane to think about. So, like even chomping down on me, that wouldn't be nearly enough to satiate its hunger. So these guys were very formidable, and their lower jaws were actually split the same way that snakes are. So it makes me wonder if they kind of could open their mouths a bit wider to kind of work big gulps of food down their throat, because it would make sense. Because they certainly couldn't use their arms to help them feed, and when you got a humongous chunk of meat, just like flipping your head back and trying to use gravity to make it go down, that's not really going to be good enough. Um, so, and there's interesting evidence that T Rexes, they were very opportunistic. They would hunt if they needed to, but then they'd also just scavenge whenever they needed to. And there's even evidence for cannibalism with T Rexes, just like big monitor lizards. How one Komodo dragon will kill a buffalo and start eating it. All the other Komodo dragons around for miles, they smell the blood. They come running, and they all just start ripping chunks off and eating. It becomes like a feeding frenzy. And the little ones, if you're too little and you get in the way, they'll just eat you too. They're cannibalistic. And there's evidence that T Rex was that same way. And that's kind of creepy to think about. Uh, some scientists are starting to think that Velociraptor was that way as well. I know for years they were saying that they were pack hunters. Now some scientists are starting to think that maybe they weren't, um, because they scanned the brain case of Velociraptor, and while it was a smart animal, now scientists are thinking it was probably about as smart as like a hawk or an eagle or any other kind of uh, predator like that. And so now they're thinking that these guys, they might have just kind of swarmed, did the swarm feeding that monitor lizards do as well, because there's been some evidence for cannibalism in velociraptors as well. So, yeah, not a good, not very fun being a baby dinosaur when everybody's out to eat you, even your own family members potentially. Um, with T Rex, another interesting thing. Sorry to be turning this into like an after school special here, but with T Rex, another cool thing about them is like their eyesight was particularly acute. Um, their eyeballs alone were like about the size of a softball, like about the size of my fist. And with the eyeball, the bigger it is, the more optic nerves can be fit in there, the better the vision. So they're saying now that like T Rex could see better than an eagle. It had amazing hearing. They've done scans of its brain case, so they know how good its sense of smell was. So, oh, thanks. Someone said like, "Nah, I enjoy the information. I'm glad. Glad it doesn't seem like I'm rambling too much." But yeah, they used to say it had a sense of smell sort of comparable to a turkey vulture. Now, after scanning the brain information with CT scans, they've been able to reconstruct the shape of its brain, and they can do comparative anatomy with other animals like crocodiles and uh, all kinds of different predators. And they've been able to find that it had a better sense of smell. So T Rex could see better than an eagle. It could hear anything from miles away, particularly like low end frequencies, which would have been probably what sauropods in distress would have sounded like, so they could track them. And then they also had a sense of smell that you couldn't get away with. And now they're also saying that the T Rex could have possibly been as smart as primates. It's a possibility because they said the neuron density of a T Rex's brain would have been about the same as a baboon. But they don't know exactly if that translates to the same level of intelligence, or if it's just it has a certain number of neurons in its brain. I tried to read the paper on it, but I'm not a neuroscientist, so I couldn't make heads or tails of it. Um, but some scientists are thinking the T-Rex might have been incredibly smart. They also could outpace you like crazy. So you might have been able to outrun them right at first, because we can accelerate quicker than they can, I think I heard. But they'd just be trucking along and we'd be out of breath and they'd catch up with us and eat us in no time. Now these guys right here, if you can see, I don't know if you can see this too well. The 3D print on this guy, see how there's these little bumps on the teeth? It's almost like pixelized artwork. It got printed off too big for the detail level on the model, so it didn't print off very smooth. That's the one thing I was kind of disappointed with when I got this guy in the mail. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about putting a light layer of paper mache over the guy so I can kind of smooth out all the teeth and then add some other wrinkles and chips and details to make it look a bit more weathered and haggard. And then I might paint him up with that same stony spray paint texture. That way, hopefully it'll look more like a museum piece. Because he kind of looks like a big Chocosaurus Rex too. He's kind of shiny. But this was the best brown I could find at Walmart. The other stuff was just like a beige color, and it just didn't look too cool. So, but I want to see if I can get this guy looking a little bit more gnarly. I might accentuate the foramina a little bit. That's these little holes right here. Now, the scientists can't quite decide what these are for. The foramina could be one of two things. Some scientists that are of the opinion that T-Rex didn't have lips, they think these are holes and attachments for blood vessels. But the pro-lip crowd for T-Rex, they've looked at like monitor lizards and all kinds of, like basically every lizard, they have these little attachment points. And this is where the lips hook to. And if you see the skull of a Komodo dragon, it has these little bumps, and its teeth look really huge when it doesn't have any meat on its bones. But when it's all fleshed out, the Komodo dragon's teeth are completely hidden in their gums. And the proportions of a T-Rex, they could be that way too. So, in theory, a T-Rex might not have had these really cool looking chompers hanging out if it was chasing you down. His teeth may have been obscured in gums and covered in lips like a Komodo dragon, only protruding when he bites down, like how a Komodo dragon's does. Which also presents the interesting possibility that T-Rex may have had venom like Komodo dragons, which would make sense with their hunting. Now, I haven't heard any scientists say this, so this isn't like some big official theory. This is just me spitballing as a dinosaur nerd. That like, if a T-Rex wanted to kill, say, a big sauropod like Brachiosaurus or some big sauropod dinosaur, in theory he could possibly tag it, then let it run away. It has the venom in it. It slowly starts dying. Then he uses his sense of smell and his long traveling ability to track it down, just wait for it to drop, and then eat it at his leisure. So it's a possibility. The only thing that kind of goes against that is there have been Triceratops and Edmontosaurus, those are the duck-billed dinosaurs, that have had T-Rex bites taken out of their spine or T-Rex teeth lodged in their backbones that have healed over. So they lived long enough to heal, so that might kill my venom theory, even though it sounds really cool. But I don't know. The venom may have just kind of discombobulated them a little bit, if they had any. But venom or not, the T-Rex would have been one nasty guy you wouldn't want to meet. And there's also some really cool evidence that T-Rex probably swam as well. I know when I was a kid, Everyone said T-Rex couldn't swim. It was even in Land Before Time. That's how they killed Sharptooth. It's because he couldn't swim with those teeny little arms, they said. Um, but now they're finding evidence that T-Rex did swim. They have massive. Let me get this guy back over here. They have these massive hip flexor attachments that go from their pelvis into the back of the tail. Um, and these big, huge hip flexor muscles are the same exact kind of muscles that crocodiles have that lets them whip their tail back and forth while they're swimming. So that they're saying that the T-Rex's gait would have had this kind of serpentine back and forth with those hip flexors, and it would also make them a very powerful swimmer. Um, and when you look at the arm bones on a T-Rex, now these aren't completely accurate to a real T-Rex arm, but they're very close. There are certain similarities, oddly enough, to an ostrich's wing, which sounds really strange. Let me see if you can see it better on this little guy, because his hands are a bit more accurate. Can you see how he has this little nub coming out here? This is why a long time ago, if you see depictions of T-Rex from like the 1930s or 40s, sometimes they give him 3 claws. Because he has this almost like little part of a little tiny finger popping out here. And an ostrich has that same little, like, if this is the one claw, ostriches have claws on their hands. They have like a thumb, and then their hand looks like a mitten, and there's a claw that comes out here, but there's this other little bump of bone in their skeleton that kind of comes out like this. And as the skin is stretched over it, it makes this funny little mitten. And some scientists are thinking the T-Rex may have actually had these kind of like funny little mitten hands, and they may have actually used that to stabilize themselves in the water, which is kind of weird to think. So they may have been kind of like floating there, kind of like a funny little frog of doom stomping up out of the water like Godzilla to chew on somebody. That would be pretty weird to see. Kind of interesting to see in a Jurassic Park movie, honestly, a big T-Rex coming up out of the water. Because it was in the first novel, but they didn't have the budget to put it in the first movie. They were going to have this whole river raft sequence where, in Michael Crichton's novel, the T-Rex jumps into the water after them. And it's a pretty thrilling scene, and they had it storyboarded and everything. But Steven Spielberg was like, yeah, this is going to be too expensive. So we need to try to put our money elsewhere in the project. And so unfortunately it got cut, and we never got to see the T-Rex in the water. So, but that would be something really cool to see in a future Jurassic Park movie. And they actually just announced that they're working on a new Jurassic film. David Koepp, who wrote the screenplay for the original Jurassic Park and The Lost World, he's coming back to write the script for this new one. And I'm excited about that because I like his writing style. I like his characters. He rounds things out, and it feels a bit more realistic. He can breathe a lot of life into his characters and give them wit without it seeming really corny. But hold on, let me look at these comments here real quick because they keep kind of popping up and down. So I'm kind of trying to scroll through these. Sorry, my finger got in the way of the lens. Okay, someone just said. So this was a long time ago. Sorry about this. This was when I was talking about T-Rex lips. They're saying makes sense that they wouldn't want to dry out their teeth. Yeah, because otherwise your teeth are going to fall out. Darth Lion says that would actually be pretty crazy if that theory of the T-Rex having venom like Komodo dragon was true. It would be cool. It definitely would be. But yeah, the little mitten arms on little T-Rex are pretty cool too. It would look very different from what we're used to with T-Rex, but it would be interesting to see them in the water. But yeah, the river raft scene Darth Lion says that he's about to. Hold on, it just popped off. He said he was also going to mention about the river raft scene in Jurassic Park, and he's interested to see what the new movie's going to hold as well. And we also, from Everest Productions, I'm hoping Kep breathes life. I kind of want him to reboot Jurassic Park. Sorry, it just popped off again. I wish there was a way to keep these comments up on my tablet. Um, okay, yeah. So he's saying he wished he could breathe life into it, or just like reboot it as a whole, like with Terminator. That, you know, I'm kind of torn with Jurassic Park in a way because there's kind of two things I would like to see done. I'd like a continuation of kind of like the Steven Spielberg version of Jurassic Park because the very first one, it's one of, if not my very favorite movie in the world. It's always hard for me to pick an absolute favorite, but Jurassic Park, I can watch that again and again, and I never get tired of that movie. I can get tired of other stuff if I've seen it too much. I had to go a few years not watching Lord of the Rings because I watched it so many times because I liked it so much, but then I got kind of tired of it. Same with some of the Star Wars movies, even as shocking as that is. Um, but with Jurassic Park, it doesn't matter how many times I've seen it, I don't get tired of it. So I wouldn't mind seeing Steven Spielberg's kind of Jurassic Park world kind of continuing. But something I would really be interested in seeing is maybe a streaming series that follows like a really high budget mini series that like takes the movie like basically like chapter by chapter and sticks with the book. Um, that way we could see a version of Jurassic Park that didn't have to interfere or change the tone of the movie franchise, but then we could get both versions on screen where we've got the more science heavy and kind of like scarier version of Jurassic Park. It was like this can be for the grown-ups, and then over here we've got the more fun Jurassic Park that can be more like um, dinosaurs. Uh, Kids can see these if they're old enough. So let me see. Let me read another couple comments here. It says Everest Productions. It's my favorite movie as well, besides Jaws, Lost World, and I'm fine with that too. I love the feeling of that movie, but I feel Universal has kind of done worse to Jurassic Park than Disney has to Star Wars. That would be. I don't know if I agree with that myself because the Last Jedi was that was rough, and ever since then, that's just like Star Wars has not been in good shape. But that's just my opinion, I guess. Though it's like I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just for me personally, what's been done to Star Wars is way worse. But um, let me see. Disney Star Wars is coherent but badly guided. Jurassic World trilogy was just badly handled, becoming another generic blockbuster. The philosophy of Crichton has gone to nonsense plotlines. You know, I really was disappointed with the Jurassic World films. Um, that's why I haven't really talked about them much on the channel. Um, because I've been trying to be nicer with my movie reviews for the last few years because everybody has been so angry on the internet for a long time. Spoiler alert that I'm the Darth Vader guy, by the way. Sorry if anyone's crestfallen thinking that the guy behind the Vader mask was some super rad, handsome dude, but, you know, in a shocking turn of events, guy who dresses up like Darth Vader every weekend is a nerd, you know. But anyway, I I've been trying to be a bit more forgiving of movies and just nicer in general on the channel because I want to give people kind of an escape from all the anger, which is why I've kind of avoided talking about certain things because I just really didn't like some movies that have been coming out lately. Especially this very last Jurassic Park movie. I was very disappointed with that one. Just the locust thing being um, the big end of it. I didn't like how the classic characters were written when they came back. Dr. Grant didn't seem like Dr. Grant. He seemed like a bumbling, confused old man. He didn't seem like himself. And I don't know, just like I never liked the clone kid, and I didn't like how she just released all the animals onto like an unsuspecting world, and you know, I just couldn't get behind that, and they had some of the best dinosaur effects of any of the films, but that last one, especially with that motorcycle chase and the lady who seemed like a weird Bond villain in the white dress with their laser guided raptors, it's like if you can get a laser sight on someone, why not just shoot them? I don't see the I don't see the upside in like having velociraptors that are trained to go after someone with a laser pointer. If you have line of sight on a target, it's easier and quicker just to pull a trigger rather than be like, okay, sick them, my pet. You know, it's like it's kind of corny. And then like everyone had guns, but no one thought to just shoot the dinosaurs when they were attacking them. It was just really not the best way to go out for Jurassic Park. I don't think. And it's like they feel like they take place in different universes to me. Like when you go back to the original Jurassic Park films, and then you go to Dominion, they feel like two different worlds. It feels almost kind of like the Fast and Furious version of dinosaurs and Jurassic Park, and just everything that all the science and um, real quality storytelling that I really like about Jurassic Park was just sadly missing from that, unfortunately. Not to turn it into a bitter Jurassic World review, but that's why I'm hoping that them bringing in David Kep to do these new ones will come in handy. Um, because from what I heard, they're taking it in a new direction. They're not going to carry on with the Jurassic World characters. So I'm hoping what this means is they're kind of like being like, okay, people weren't exactly thrilled with that one. Let's bring things back to basics. Because, I mean, it's also the timing of this new game as well. They're bringing it back to Jurassic Park with that game. It's set in the 90s, right after the events of Jurassic Park. And they're really giving you the nostalgic feel with that game. And now they're bringing in David Kep to make a new script, and they're saying they're shooting for it to like possibly come out in like 2025. They're going to be in production in this in like I think they said like 4 to 6 months, something like that. So it's like they're they're really moving ahead with this project, and I'm curious to see where it goes. Um, I'm pretty excited about it. It's been a while since I've been excited about a movie, but I'm interested to see where this goes. But let me see. I'm going to read some more comments here. First Jurassic World is fine, Everest Production says. It was a cookie cutter, but it didn't hurt me at all. Fallen Kingdom was just bad, and yes, I agree. The Last Jedi destroys Star Wars. Um, uh, let me see. Dominion speaks for itself, and this is coming as a bigger fan of Jurassic Park than Star Wars. I felt heartbroken as well um, with the treatment of the fans, including myself. So yeah. Eternal Death Rex says Locust was fine, but Sattler was written. Uh, Let me see. Sorry about that. It popped off again. How did she not know about uh, Giganotosaurus? I guess the excuse there would be that she was a paleobotanist, maybe. Um, I thought it was weird how they had so many of the heroes working for Biosyn. I thought they could have done a lot more interesting stuff with Biosyn, having kind of like their own versions of all the dinosaurs, to kind of have it be that they were successful in stealing some stuff from InGen. Um, and I also didn't like how they tied up the whole plot of the dinosaurs being out in the real world, out of the cages. Um, like they tied it up in some like what felt almost like a YouTube video for children, being like, and then we caught all the dinosaurs. Let's get all that out of the way so we can talk about bugs for the rest of the movie. It just, I don't know. Clearly, I don't know, they didn't think that one through. It kind of makes me feel a little bit better about Colin Trevorrow not doing the last Star Wars movie because, you know, he was talking about how much better his version of the last Star Wars movie would have been, but seeing how he ended off Jurassic Park, it's like, would he have really fixed Star Wars that much? I don't know. I don't really know. But, but yeah, I mean, I'm curious if we're gonna be going with InGen and Biosyn in this new Jurassic Park movie that's coming out, um, or if it's gonna be a totally new thing. Um, in terms of directors, I mean, I don't think he'd do it, but it would be really cool if Steven Spielberg would come back for another Jurassic film. And John Williams said that if there was a film that really spoke to him, he would love to come back and score another movie. He's kind of like, he retired, but now he's kind of come out of retirement. Um, he said if the right project comes along, because he wants to keep working and scoring movies. So like, you know, I know it's a pipe dream, but it would be really cool to see Steven Spielberg come back to direct one more Jurassic Park and maybe have John Williams do one more score. Um, oh, someone else just popped up in the chat. Hold on 1 minute. EcoFan180. Totally forgot there was a stream tonight. Got absorbed in some writing. Hey, you know, that's no problem at all. I'm glad you're being creative. That's cool. We need more of that in the world. So let me see. Just real quick then, since you came in a little bit late, I won't go through everything. I'll just show the cooler bits real quick since everybody else saw this. But I was showing some of my dinosaur collections. This is a Bandai Triceratops model kit. You can get these on Amazon. Um, they're really cool. So I got a Bandai Triceratops here. Um, from the same line, I got a T Rex. Really cool, high quality scans from actual museum pieces that they made these model kits with. So he's really cool. I've also was showing everybody I've got a Velociraptor claw. It's not a real one, obviously, but I weathered it myself. Actually, when it came, it was like just this clean beige color, and I kind of weathered it with some brown paint so it would look more dirty. And I got a Velociraptor skull. Again, not the real thing, but this was scanned from an actual museum piece, so it's to scale. It's the right size. So that's pretty darn cool. Um, Let me check another comment here real quick. Um, yeah, Darth Lion said, absolutely love the scores that John Williams makes. They're very incredible. And my mom in the comment section, she just said that would be so cool to have John Williams score it. I love his music. I was actually just talking about this the other day with someone that there's a difference to his music when he conducts. Because in Jurassic World, they used his theme from Jurassic Park, but Michael Giacchino was kind of like adapting it for their movie. And even though it was note for note the same tune that John Williams wrote, he conducted it like so like quick and on this little like meter. It didn't have the flow to it that John Williams had. It's like, for lack of a better term, it's like there wasn't the love in it, you know. There wasn't like the sweeping grandeur that it had because John Williams, like, he takes his time and he knows when to stay with the metronome and when to kind of like draw out a note just long enough to where you're starting to feel the anticipation where you want it to hit to the next part. And then when it gets there, he's really great at tension and release with his music. And there's an ebb and flow to his stuff that other people just don't have. Even when they're trying to conduct his themes. Let me bring the chat back up. Eternal Death Rex. If only he hadn't retired. Well, he did retire, but he actually said just recently that he's kind of unretired. Um, he said that like he wants to score another film. He said he feels like he has more music in him. So hopefully Jurassic Park will get him to come back. But for Eco fan out there, um, here's another one of my pieces of my collection. Um, Pretty happy with this guy. He's really cool. Obviously, you can see I like T Rexes. Like who doesn't? But you know, I like them enough to have several uh, pieces of T Rex memorabilia, I guess you'd say. Um, I've got a reproduction of a T Rex tooth. Let me get it here. So this is to scale. All this is the root. Oh, hey, Waz, how you doing? To your question, is there a better uh, composer to John Williams? No, I don't. I don't think there is. I agree with you on that one. I don't. I really don't think there is. Um, the real shame, the biggest missed opportunity I feel like in movie history is that Richard Donner, after making Superman, he was gonna make a Batman film that was set in the same universe, and he was gonna have John Williams do the score. Unfortunately, scheduling conflicts with making the Lethal Weapon movies, he wasn't able to make it. He was wanting to have Mel Gibson play Batman. He wanted to have Willem Dafoe be the Joker, and John Williams was going to do the score. So we almost got a John Williams Batman score, and it's like that is the score that got away that haunts me because I would have loved to have heard what he was going to do with Batman. Because I love the Danny Elfman score, but when you listen to the score from Journey to the Center of the Earth, um, that Bernard Herrmann wrote, uh, Danny Elfman he ripped it off. He ripped off a lot of Bernard Herrmann's stuff for that movie. It's like right down to like the gong and like the horns coming in at staggered notes. It's the same melody. If you look it up, it's like it's totally the same. Um, yeah, let me see. Let me show you one more little guy here. Got this Velociraptor. His arm keeps falling off. I'm gonna have to glue that in. That's the one thing I don't like about this guy is his the joints, the little connector for the arms. It's like that tiny little plastic nub on the end there. That's what keeps the arm in. But then the fingers are so heavy, it makes the arm keep falling off. So it's like it'll pop in kind of, but then it just kind of sits there and wants to fall off. It probably won't even stay in now. So yeah, I like having a full skeleton and a skull because then it kind of helps me visualize the whole animal a little bit better. Since I can't afford to have a full dinosaur museum in my bedroom, as much as I'd like to. Um, then I got this guy, big T Rex head. One of my, he's like my favorite of all the dinosaur things I have just because of the scale of it. He's not quite the right size. He's not quite real, but he's bigger than any of the other things I've got in my collection. So, no, this isn't life size. This is about, well, I mean, I guess it's technically life size if this was a juvenile T Rex, but this isn't life size for an adult T Rex. Um, the head alone of an adult T Rex is like 5 feet long. I'm 5'11", so the head is about the length of my entire body, just about. So let me read a couple more comments real quick. Sorry, if it looks like I'm kind of lagging. Looks like I'm kind of lagging here. Sorry, guys. My audio's cutting out. Hold on. Sorry. Here, I'm reading a comment here. Sorry, I was lagging a bit there. I think my internet's not very good. They're kind of throttling me because I've reached my data limit, I think, just about for the week. But Darth Lion just said, oh, I wanted to mention this also. I don't mean to go off topic here, but I wanted to mention that I was talking to some of my friends in a Discord group about your Star Wars fan film, Fallen Jedi. Well, thanks. I really appreciate that. Um, that's any way to get the word out about it. This weekend, we're doing another commentary track for like another scene of the film. So where I'll be going into some more in-depth info on how we made the film. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. Yeah, the T Rex is bigger than a lot of people. Cassandra Welch just said the head is bigger than she is tall. That's It's kind of weird to think of an animal so big that could kind of like eat you in one chomp. Um, oh wow, Janelle Waz just said she saw Sue the T Rex at the Field Museum in Chicago a couple times. Um, you know, that I've never been able to go to a museum to see dinosaur bones in real life. That has been like a lifelong dream of mine ever since I was a little kid. Because I want to see them like full size, in person. Because it's one thing to have like you know an accurate size tooth or an accurate size claw. It's cool to have this stuff, but seeing the actual critter that big, um, man, that would be a dream come true for me. And so maybe I'll have to do that someday. That's on my bucket list. For Eco fan, since you were here a little bit late, um, if you're a big fan of Jurassic Park and manga, the Dinosaur Sanctuary series, highly recommended because it's a little story series about a dinosaur zoo. It's basically Jurassic Park if everything worked great. Um, it's a good story, good artwork. He worked with a paleontologist to get it as accurate as possible. Um, so I think you'd enjoy it if you like that kind of stuff. Let's see. Let me see. Eternal Death Rex said, I saw the traveling exhibit and it was incredible to see the size of the skeleton. I imagine it would be because like she's like one of the biggest ones they've ever found. I know there was some debate a while ago as to whether they found another one that was bigger, but she's like one of the most complete. Everest Productions. Have I ever played Trespasser? I've never watched it, but I mean I've never played it, but I've seen a full walkthrough of the game on. There's a YouTuber named Clayton Fioriti. He does his whole channel's like devoted to Jurassic Park, and he did a full walkthrough of the game because he loved it when he was a kid, and I watched that. It actually the John Hammond journals, the little narration bits in that game are what inspired the tone of how I'm writing my Neozoic Island story. Like I'm even doing, you know, I'm recording like an audiobook version of it with these same jungle sounds in the background and some Jurassic Park ish music that I've written, and the whole way I'm reading the story off, um, I'm doing it in kind of like a kind of a crappy John Hammond impression, just to try to give it a Jurassic Park vibe. Um, so I hope people enjoy it when I've got it done. The first chapter is up on on this channel if anyone wants to listen to it. Um, Janelle Watts said I thought it would be bigger, but I probably wouldn't want to see it running after me. Yeah, I've always wondered if some of the dinosaurs would be smaller than I would expect them to be because movies kind of they overclock dinosaurs typically to make them cooler. Darth Lion said, um, "Hold on, all the comments left again." Darth Lion said, "Oh, that reminds me. I remember when I was at Toys R Us in New York City many years ago. I saw the humongous green T Rex with the Jurassic Park gates. in I I think I remember seeing a display with that once a long time ago. Hold on. Cassandra Welch, seeing the life-size skeletons at the museum is on my bucket list too. I wonder how they made the T-Rex work in Night at the Museum. T-Rex in Night at the Museum, that was CG. That was a CGI skeleton, so they could animate it and have it hop around and act like a dog and do all the funny stuff that it did in that movie. Um, it's actually they did it the very way they did the very first animation tests for Jurassic Park. Because to do the proof of concept that the computer generated dinosaurs were going to work, they built a T Rex skeleton in the computer and they animated it. And then they showed that to Steven Spielberg. And so they used kind of the same technique, just a big dinosaur skeleton that they articulate on the computer. It's kind of like a puppet. You build it in 3D. I've been doing computer animation since I was like 11. So basically, what you do is you build the geometry like you're sculpting on the computer, and you build like a puppet, and then you assign little bones that will control parts of the geometry. And then that way you can animate it piece by piece, almost kind of like stop motion, but you're doing it on the computer instead. So for this tail, for example, since there are all these little segments here, this would be a nightmare to rig because every one of these vertebrae would need a separate bone. But you need to connect them together so that when you pull this one on the end, the entire tail will bend and whip. Otherwise, you'll have to manually go in and like tweak every little bone in the tail. That goes all the way up the spine, all the way up the neck. So it's complicated doing creature animation. It takes a really long time. Um, I'm hoping eventually once I have the time to kind of do some dinosaur animation again, because I used to do that when I was young, but I haven't had the time to dabble with it anymore. But yeah, it could be cool to do a road trip traveling to different museums. That would be a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, Thunder Wells, every single one, all of them. Well, I didn't think it was that hard. Yeah, it's that's why movies are so expensive, and that's why they take so long to make, because all the visual effects you see, if they can't use motion capture, if it was a human character, typically in a movie they just use motion capture now, which that's when they put the little dot markers on you and you just move around, and that gets recorded by these electronic cameras. And then they map that onto a CG double, and it just moves however you move. But for a creature like a T Rex, since there's no analog in our world that they could motion capture, they have to do all the animation themselves. So every dinosaur you see in Jurassic Park, all the wacky creatures you see in Avatar, they have to they have to animate those by hand, and it takes forever to do. But it can be a lot of fun too, though. It's satisfying seeing it come together. So you see Darth Lion. Night at the Museum was definitely such a cool film. I also thought it was wizard and very funny. Hold on. I was trying to catch the thing before it went off. Uh, that Oscar the Grouch and Darth Vader made an appearance. You know, I don't know if I saw the one that Darth Vader popped up in. Was that the second one, or was it the first one? I don't remember. Um, but yeah, I remember seeing the first one with Robin Williams was Teddy Roosevelt and everything. That was a good movie. I haven't reviewed it. Come to think of it, there's a lot of stuff I haven't gotten around to reviewing yet. But oh yeah, here's one more thing from earlier. It's this isn't mine. This isn't part of my collection. This is my brother's. It's a Spinosaurus tooth, an actual Spinosaurus tooth. I wish I had something that cool in my collection because, you know, we are just passing through history, but this is history, as Belloc would say. Um, to know that like this is actually a real dinosaur's tooth, an animal all those years ago. Who knows what he bit into? You know, it's just I don't know, there's something about it that it's really interesting, having that little piece of something that's real. Um, but let me see here. Janelle Waz, I like the first night of the museum. I remember being disappointed in the second one. I don't know if I've seen the second one. Um, I know a lot of sequels are kind of a letdown. Um, but let me see. Everest Productions, gotta go. Thanks for the intriguing dino knowledge. Good seeing you. Thanks for dropping by. I really appreciate it. It was nice talking to you. So, let me see. Deborah Overholt. Eternal Death Rex. We sure would only do the cool ones, not all of them. Yeah, I don't think we'd have the money to spend to go to like every museum in the country. Um, but we'd have to look and see which ones have all the best dinosaur exhibits. Because you know, I don't care about art exhibits and all that boring crap. I just want to see the dinosaurs. I know it's childish, but hey, I'm a guy who dresses up like Darth Vader every weekend. Childish is kind of what I do. Um, but yeah, Cassandra Welch said even going to one would be awesome. There's one museum with some dinosaur bones around where I live. It's the only one that has any of them, from what I know, and they don't have very many. So it's a long drive from here, and I think they've got like 3 or 4 dinosaur bones, and the rest of it is just like little exhibits of like caveman stuff and all the boring crap. So I don't know if it will be worth it because it's not even a T Rex. It is a big theropod, but it's not an actual T Rex that they have. It's some I don't even remember what kind it is, but they have a big sauropod, and they have like some kind of ceratopsian. Just the skull of it though, and I think they might have a dromaeosaur, but I don't remember for sure. I've only seen pictures of the place online, so I'm not exactly sure. Um, Everything I've seen, they kind of take the pictures strategically to make it look like there's more there, but I can tell by the room it's like these are tiny exhibits, relatively speaking, for a museum. Um, they're doing the clever photography that real estate agents do to make houses look better and bigger so they can get more money out of them. So, but let me see. Any questions anyone has about dinosaurs? I don't know if I'll have the answer for you, but I'll do my best if you have any questions. Um, I used to know quite a bit about them, but now I don't know as much as I used to. Now my little nephew might know more about it than me because he's pretty obsessed with dinosaurs. Um, but let me see. I'm trying to think if I've got anything else I could show you guys because I think I've gone through everything I've got. Unless I just try to go through my Jurassic Park book a little bit better for you guys to see on camera. I'd have to turn around a little bit. Let me see if I can do that. Because it is a cool book. Um, Darth Lion says, I'd love to visit a museum someday. I'm interested in seeing the bones and fossils of dinosaurs. You want to make sure you wear your Jurassic Park uh, shirt. That would be a must. And let's see. The Eternal Death Rex, nice indie costume, by the way. Well, thanks. I figured since I'm doing this whole big elaborate background and everything, I might as well go all out with it and try to look the part of an adventurer. So let me see if I can find any of the cool stuff. The interesting thing about this book is you can see how they were like all the design that went into what they were doing here. They got Nedry's work badge in here. It's kind of cool. Um, they were really struggling for a long time to come up with the logo for Jurassic Park, as you can see. Um, they were kind of beating their head against the wall for that for a while. They had a lot of trouble coming up with something that was um, simple and iconic. Got a big Jurassic Park postcard. Now, something about the first movie, there was a whole sequence that they cut out of the film that was going to have a baby Triceratops. There was this whole sequence, like from the book, where Lex and Tim and Grant, they they made their way into the Triceratops paddock, trying to get away from the T Rex, and they run into the baby Triceratops, and the T Rex is still on their tail. It was like a little bit before the T Rex in the water sequence. So let me see. Janelle Waz said, "I need to revisit the original Jurassic Park book at some point." Hold on. I remember really enjoying it when I read it. You know, if you don't have the time to read it, or you want to save a couple of bucks, um, the audiobook version of Jurassic Park is here. Excuse me, is right here on YouTube. I've listened to it a couple times um, through when I was bored, and you know, it's nice to listen to when you're doing housework or doing the dishes. So let me see. Thoughts on The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. You know, when I was younger, The Lost World was my favorite Jurassic Park movie because it had more dinosaurs and it had more jungle adventure in it. But as I've gotten older, the original Jurassic Park has kind of reclaimed its place as my favorite because I feel like the story in Jurassic Park 1 is better than Jurassic Park 2. Um, the character of Dr. Harding, she's kind of annoying to me. I can't place what it is about her, but like, I think I might just not be a fan of Julianne Moore because I've seen her in a couple things and she's usually kind of annoying to me, but I can't really put my finger on why. It's not that her character is doing anything badly written or anything, and it's not that her acting isn't good. She's, I don't know, there's something about her characters that just bug me sometimes, and I can't stand Nick Van Owen because it's kind of like every death in the movie is his fault because he unloaded Roland Tembo's gun, and I can tell, you know how you can tell the intent of the filmmaker. It's supposed to be like a, yeah, he showed them, he unloaded the gun, but it's like, you know, he caused all these innocent people to die, even on the mainland. So I always kind of wished he would have gotten eaten by a raptor or something and got his comeuppance for being rotten. But sadly, it never happened. Um, but let me see. Oh yeah, best line in the Lost World. She doesn't even have Sega. She's such a troglodyte. Yeah, it's a funny line that a lot of people would probably not even know. Um, Probably wouldn't even know what they're talking about at that point. Also, Jeff Goldblum as Ian Malcolm. He was my favorite character in the first movie. So when I was younger, I always liked that he was the main guy in The Lost World because Grant always seemed like a curmudgeon guy to me. I never liked him as much as I liked Dr. Malcolm. So I liked having more of Dr. Malcolm in the second movie. Um, so here's a cool little thing where they're showing the process of sculpting and building the Velociraptors for the films. So that's pretty cool. As for the third Jurassic Park film, I can't honestly say that I really like any of the characters in the third one. And when you hear about how troubled the production was on that film, it's amazing it turned out as good as it did. Because like they were writing it, they scrapped the story while they were filming, and then they were trying to rewrite the story as they were making the movie. So people on set William H. Macy, who plays Mr. Kirby in the film, he said he didn't even know what movie they were making. And he said it got to where on certain set days, um, they wouldn't even use names in their dialogue because they didn't know if their names were the same because their character names were even changing. So they kind of, from time to time, he didn't even know what story they were trying to tell. So it was very unfocused. Um, but the Raptors are really cool in that movie. They're kind of like the coolest they've ever looked, in my opinion. I like the Jurassic Park 3 Raptors the best. Um, so let me see. Darth Lion says, I remember when I saw this video talking about the crazy and scary idea of dinosaur human hybrids for Jurassic Park 4. That was a weird. That was a weird concept. Yeah, they were gonna make these dinosaur super soldiers, where they were like part man, part dinosaur, and that seems like a little too wacky for Jurassic Park compared to the first one. But I mean, with how goofy Dominion was, with its kind of Fast and Furious kind of feel, I can see him doing it now. And there's the precedent because they've got the little girl that they cloned, and she was like genetically linked to the dinosaurs. And we had Owen training the raptors to be a military unit. So having super soldier dinosaurs, you know, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be that much weirder than how it's been. So here's a pretty cool picture of both the T Rexes. So the really cool thing about this book, beyond the pictures, is there's a lot of really cool little tidbits of the production process in this movie, of the movie. Sorry. Um, so I'm really glad that I got this book for Christmas. I still haven't read the whole thing. Every time I try to sit down and read the whole thing, I get uh, I get sidetracked because at the time I was working on my own movie. But let me see. A short stay for me, but I have to get going. Well, thanks for dropping by. And like I've said other times, if you guys are Star Trek fans, check out Janelle Waz's channel because she does great Star Trek videos, and she does some great commentary, and she has good jokes and good cutaway gags. I don't know how I don't know how she finds the perfect lines to say from all these shows, but like she can find the perfect line of dialogue from like any Star Trek show, and it works in with the humor really great. So, and no worries about the shout out. Thanks for dropping by for the live stream. Have fun watching Star Trek tonight, and I'll be sure to check out your new video whenever you post it. So, so let me see. But yeah, the I think in terms of soundtrack, um, it's it's hard for me to pick with the soundtracks which one I like better because the original Jurassic Park soundtrack, it has a lot of really great music, um, but the sequel has a lot of really cool, interesting themes too because the music is more kind of jungly and it's a bit darker. Some of the music actually kind of makes me think of the score of Predator at times. And I kind of wonder if it was intentional since they have like the team of commando guys going through the jungle, facing something that's going to start hunting them back eventually. I kind of wonder if that was like a subtle nod or if it was just kind of like, jungle adventure music is, you know, pretty much the same. There's only so many ways to write jungle music, so maybe it was just a coincidence or similarity. Um, but I'll put it to you guys. Which are your favorite Jurassic movies? Do you guys prefer the Jurassic Park films or the Jurassic World films? Um, I'm gonna read through some comments here. Let me see. Oh yeah, thanks. Darth Lion said it was a cool Jurassic Park book. I think you can get it on Amazon. If you look it up, I don't remember how much it costs, but it's on Amazon. So pretty much everything I got here that I've shown you guys tonight is on Amazon. Um, but Amazon or Etsy, that's where you find some good dinosaur stuff. I could waste so much money on Etsy because for like, you know, I I would feel too guilty spending this much money on something goofy that I don't need. So I know I'm never gonna get it, but it would be cool to get it at some point. If I was rich and had money to burn, there's like this for like $2,800. You can get a full uh, juvenile T Rex skeleton mount that's like actual size to put in your living room, and it just looks really cool. On the more affordable end, something I am gonna get eventually. I was kicking myself the other day because I realized I had some Christmas money. Here's a cool look at the Spino T Rex fight. Sorry, this reflection's kind of messing up the T Rex, but that's really cool. Um, Interestingly, when the like the animatronic T Rex and Spino were fighting, the Spino robot actually pulled the head off of the T Rex robot because they overclocked the juice on the Spino, and it was a more powerful machine. It actually destroyed the T Rex. So they had to trim the fight down because they still had more to do, but they accidentally ripped off the T Rex's head before they were finished because they didn't expect it to do that. They didn't know it was going to pull the thing's head off. So let me see here. Eternal Death Rex. I'm always a park fan, not really world. Same here. Um, and my mom, I think I know her answer. And yeah, she said it's Jurassic Park for me. Yeah, I've always liked the Jurassic Park films better than the Jurassic World films myself. I feel like the characters in Jurassic World, they don't have quite as much depth as I'd like them to have. And the storylines just kind of got more and more kind of exaggerated and a little bit more extreme. So the first movie, the first Jurassic Park, they did such a good job of explaining how everything happened, how all the dinosaurs were made. It felt very plausible, so it made it real. Um, but the later ones, they just kind of they got a little bit goofy at times. So um, so I'm hoping that David Koepp will come in and bring some of that classic Jurassic Park magic to this new movie that they're coming out with. And I really wish I could play that new Jurassic Park game because the graphics look incredible. Um, but I mean, I probably wouldn't be able to play it anyway though because I'm terrible at survival games. And that whole movie. I'm used to talking about movies on this channel. Um, that game, it's a survival game, so it's all about stealth and trying to be quiet. And it'll be one of those situations where like the whole game I'd be wanting to see a dinosaur, but then at the same time I'd be like, but I don't want to see a dinosaur too though because every time I see a dinosaur I die. Um, so there'd be that kind of double-edged sword going on with it. So but yeah, the Eternal Death Rex says Jurassic World was the worst for me. I I have a hard time picking which one I hate the most of the Jurassic World movies. I think, well, I guess I said that, but really it is the last one. The last one was the worst for me. But I didn't really like the other two either, much to the chagrin of my nephews because they were thinking like, what? But it has the most dinosaurs. Um, but I didn't like the human characters enough. So let's see. Darth Lion said, that's a good question on which Jurassic Park is our favorite. I do know for me, I grew up loving the original Jurassic Park trilogy. That was before the Jurassic World movies came to be. Yeah, it's always hard when they continue a series because there's something about it that when the original guys that started it aren't working on it anymore, you just kind of lose something. and if they're not careful, it starts to feel kind of like a hollow copy of itself, kind of like what Star Wars feels like now. There's some good stuff, but a lot of it is just like not that great, and the characters just don't have the same feel of the original stuff. So, oh, excuse me, I didn't fall asleep last night. Sorry, so I'm a little bit bleary eyed. But, um, but yeah, in completely unrelated news, I don't know why I'm even talking about this because it doesn't have to do with anything. But like, is anybody excited for the Sonic movie? Because I don't see many people talking about it, but I'm like really excited for Sonic 3 because of how they left off the last one with that little Shadow the Hedgehog preview, and I don't know how true this rumor is, um, but I've seen chatter online that like Hayden Christensen might be the voice of Shadow the Hedgehog in Sonic 3. Apparently, he's like, if the news story is to be believed, he's like the front runner for the voice of Shadow, and that would just be really cool to me to have like Anakin Skywalker as Shadow the Hedgehog. Strange time to be alive. Um, Thinking of like a Sonic movie with Anakin Skywalker as the voice of a hedgehog. But it weirdly works, you know, because he can do the dark brooding thing, and that's what Shadow's all about. So um, that will be pretty cool if that's true. I'm hoping it is, and I'm hoping we get a trailer soon. Um, I mean, both of them, their eyes glow gold when they get mad too, so it works in a weird kind of way. The chaos control is almost like using the force. Um, Back on an interesting dinosaur note, though, I also heard just recently that there's this big sinkhole in China that has all of these. It's like a closed off little ecosystem where they've found all these prehistoric plants in there, and a group of scientists apparently went from the story I heard. I don't know if this is 100% true or not. I really want it to be because it sounds so cool, but it's one of those stories that's like it sounds so cool it almost sounds too good to be true. But the sinkhole is definitely real, and they've flown drones over it, and they've seen these plants. But the story goes that these little scientist guys they went down there to collect some plant specimens, and while they were down there, they discovered animals that we've never seen before in the fossil record. And so that's I wish they would have taken pictures um, and posted that stuff because that would be really cool to see. And they said they even found evidence of dinosaurs down there, and it's like that sounds. They found some bones and some other stuff, and it's like they left because they were just like a little botany team to study the plants, apparently, from what this report said. So I wish I wish there were more details on this so I could figure out if it's all true or not because it sounds um, almost sounds like the Lost World, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World. This little preserved ancient ecosystem, and that would just be really cool if there were some wacky little critters that we've never seen before running around in the jungle somewhere. Um, so if there are any, I'm hoping they can get some pictures of them so we can see what they look like because it's always cool to see some new species of animal that you've never seen before, and it just sounds really cool. And I know in different parts of the world there are these deep jungles that like totally haven't been explored. Like 80% of the Congo is still unexplored. 80%, and the Congo is huge. The Congo Basin is like a huge swath of territory. So like 80% of the Congo being unexplored, like who knows what's deep in that jungle? Um, all kinds of animals we might not have ever heard of before could be in there because they're discovering new animals all the time. Usually they're just kind of small, uninteresting ones, but uh, the cool thing is like there could even be some really big animals hiding in there that we don't know about because for years scientists said that like um, forest elephants weren't a real thing. They're like, oh, they only live in the plains because they destroy all the trees. There's no way they could live there. But then later on, they found out there's this kind of elephant, they're forest elephants, that they'll walk through the jungle completely silent. And the trees just kind of bend out of their way, and it kind of the forest just kind of closes back up behind them, and they don't destroy the paths they walk on. They don't destroy the jungle. And if those things can walk around through the jungle completely silent, without leaving a trace, it's like who knows what else could be hiding in that 80% unexplored Congo. Um, the little kid in me really wishes that it could be like an episode of Johnny Quest where there's some dinosaur that still survived. Um, but even if it's just like some kind of weird, you know, freaky hippo we've never heard of, or a big, huge, like anaconda like snake or a big crocodile or something, that would be really cool. Um, but that area is like it's very, very dangerous and very unstable, which is why there's lots of civil wars being fought around in the Congo all the time. So a lot of expeditions can't really go as deep as they'd like in there because it's really dense jungle and it's very dangerous. Um, I heard stories of this one guy that he was like an explorer guy that went in there, and the native guys they told him not to go into the water um, because he said there were these weird slug things that will poison you and you die. They're in the water. They basically like infect you with their young and you die. And so they were like, yeah, don't even put your hand in the water. Just keep your hands in the boat. And once we get past this little swamp thing, then you can get out of the boat and do stuff. But so it's like it's very, very treacherous. Like you wouldn't even think just like, oh yeah, don't touch the water or you'll die. It's like it's kind of like if you don't have a Star Trek force fields to keep you safe, just walking through these woods can be deadly, even if you don't find a big cool animal. Um, but there's part of me that wishes I had the money to do expedition stuff, but I know if I had the money to do that, there are more responsible, important things I probably would need to be doing with my money besides chasing down the idea that like maybe there's a dinosaur hiding in Africa somewhere or in China, who knows. Um, but it would be insane if there was some weird critter hiding out there that we haven't seen before. Um, but yeah, I let me see. We've been going for almost 2 hours now, and I've shown you guys all my cool dinosaur stuff. I do have a copy of Jurassic Park, the video game for the Sega Genesis, but it's over there on the other side of the room, and I don't feel like getting up because I'm tired. So plus it's just a Sega cartridge. It's not anything amazing to look at. Um, but But let me see. Yeah, it would be crazy if there were some new animals to be discovered out there, um, in the deep places of the world. Um, I mean, 80% of the Congo, that's a humongous territory. So there's something out there. I just don't know what it would be. Even if it's just some weird kind of canary we've never heard of before, it would still be cool just to be like, yeah, I was the first guy that recorded that animal. You know, got pictures of it. Um, but real quick before we go, though, um, not to keep circling back to my book to be annoying about it, but with that whole using the chickens to turn it into a dinosaur kind of thing, what really set me off on writing that story was I thought like, okay, it's cool that you're doing that with the chicken, but like, what if you did it with something like a cassowary? Because they basically seem like a dinosaur bird already with the big toe claw, and they're very dangerous. The most dangerous bird in the world. So I thought, what if we did that with like a cooler animal? You know, it's like forget chickens. Let's do it with a cassowary, or let's do it with an ostrich, and we'll get a gallimimus basically. Um, so that's kind of what my dinosaur story uh, explores. They start with the chickens to keep it grounded in the science, but then they kind of start doing other genetic tests, combining different combining animals together. Sorry, I think I dropped for a second. It said I had to reconnect. Um, and it's like I kind of looked through to find different animals that I could kind of mix and match, almost kind of like a mad science gumbo to try to make something as close to a dinosaur as possible with animals that we have living today. Um, the big trick has been finding one that can mix together to be something like this guy. That's the last chapter that I'm having trouble with, is writing a creature to be my T-Rex, because I've got a lot of other cool animals that I've come up with, and I've given them all names, Latin-based names to make them sound official, like they're like dinosaurs. Um, like the chicken dinosaur that they make, since it's the first one, it's called Primosaurus because um, it's the first. You use like Latin for like the first, add saurus to the end of it. There you go. Um, I've got one called the Raptor because it's a raptor-like animal. Because I used that red-legged Seriema bird that I was talking about earlier with the raptor claw, they turn one of those into a raptor-like animal. Cassowary, I forget what that one's called. Um, Sicariosaurus, because Sicarius is like assassin or something like that, if I remember correctly, in Latin. I don't know. It's been a while now since I was working on that story. So as soon as I get that last chapter, I'll post it for you guys, and it'll be up on the YouTube channel, and I'll be spamming it all over Twitter. Hopefully, people will listen to it, and I hope people enjoy it because it's been a lot of fun recording it. Um, and it's been a lot of fun writing it. I just got to get that last chapter finished. So let me look at the chat one more time before we get going. Um, yeah, Cassandra Wells said, "Yeah, being the first to do anything would be pretty epic. It would be cool to kind of step out into the wilderness where people haven't really, or at least to your knowledge, where people haven't been. That would be pretty cool. But um, anyway, I think that'll about do it because I'm getting pretty tired and I need to do some dishes so I can cook dinner tonight. Um, and I need to take a nap. So thanks guys for dropping by on this kind of rather self-indulgent live stream. Just kind of showing you all of my old dinosaur toys and collection. Thanks for sticking in there with me while I rambled away about everything. And I've been wanting to do a video like this for a long time, but I felt like I didn't know if it fit the standard tone of the channel to have this sort of more laid back, just showing you uh, the my dinosaur collection. I didn't know if that would fit with my typical movie review format. So I'm glad I can do these live streams now. And let me see. My mom just asked, "Will there be pics for the dinosaur book?" You know, I am going to draw kind of like chapter heading illustrations so people can kind of see the animal I'm picturing in my head when I describe these dinosaurs uh, or dinosaur-like creations. Because some of the descriptions, it might seem like, what? You mix that animal with that? How is that going to work? But the way I'm picturing it, it'll work. So I'll probably have some illustrations for that I'll kind of mix in. But it's not going to be like a fully illustrated thing because it's an hour-long book, so that'll be a lot of pictures to draw. So I'll keep it pretty bare bones, but there will be some pictures. So, but yeah, let me see. Darth Lion says, "You're welcome. I hope you have a great rest of your day and night. May the force be with you. May the force be with you as well, my friend. And thanks for telling your buddies about the Fallen Jedi film. Kyle Cullen, live long and prosper, my friend. Hopefully, you didn't just pop in right at the end because unfortunately, we're just wrapping this up. Um, the Eternal Death Rex says, "Thanks for sharing, sir. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun talking with you guys too. It's always fun having you guys show up for these live streams. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your night to come hang out with me." Excuse me. Cassandra Welch said, "You're welcome. The stream was awesome. Nice ambience in the background. I'm glad it picked up on the mic. It's kind of strangely it's kind of making me sleepy actually. This constant little bug noise. I think that's why I'm feeling so tired now. Because it's just been kind of going this whole time. So, so my mom just said good night, mom. Love you. Tell dad I said love you too, and I'll see you guys on the weekend. And thanks for tuning in with me tonight, guys. Um, so, like I said, this weekend I'll be doing another um, commentary track on another chunk of the fan film. We can't do it all in one big chunk, so I'm taking it scene by scene. So we're breaking it down so I can tell you guys like the thought process that went into different scenes, little behind the scenes stuff that was kind of cool, and it's just a way to kind of like help explain some stuff about the movie that you might not have picked up on, um, or tell you when other deleted scenes would have been there, because there are a few other deleted scenes that I'm going to talk about at different points in the movie um, as we go. So we will we'll do that this coming weekend, and then every Wednesday I'm doing these live streams, and it's just kind of like this is sort of like the catch-all for things. Like I've done drawing, I've done animation, I played video games last week, and then here I just talked about all this dinosaur stuff. So it's kind of like you never know what you're gonna get on these Wednesday live streams, but I think that's the fun of them. So it's been a good night, and I thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you on the weekend. Well, I guess I won't see you, but you guys will see me, kind of. You'll hear me anyway. So you guys have a good night. God bless you guys, and I will talk to you later.